away, but I have a question I always like to ask before we get started. Maybe a little bit of a feel of the room. But before we even ask that question, I just want to point out some things up here in the front. So on that table over there with the pastel pigeon cloth thing, we have over there we have some resource sheets. So I've read a lot and watched a lot about Solanus Casey, and that's the most I could put on the one side of the sheet of paper. And so if you want to grab that, and then on the flip side of that is actually this little, you see this image of Solanus over here. On the back side of that is kind of the timeline of his life. So that gives you a little bit of a snippet. It also includes the canonization prayer. So if you don't have one of those and you want, I don't have an outline of the talk, but if you want to grab one of those just to kind of follow along a little bit and have some resources to take with you when you leave, be sure to grab one of those now. As we move from over there to here, we have this image and explanation of his life. That's upstairs in the cathedral. We have some books and other Solanus-related materials. Here, this is a new image of Solanus Casey. My mother and I just got this in St. Paul. There's 500 copies of this. I believe it was made because there's Franciscans down in Minneapolis that just named a building after Solanus Casey, which is one of the first buildings named after him. And so one of the brothers made these. So a nice little image. And it was really great. This is a first-class relic of Solanus Casey. So this is a piece of his hand/wrist. So it's an actual bone from his body that is in this gray reliquary. I love the cat. So just a quick tutorial. So after my presentation, we'll have another blessing with another relic. I'll explain that in a minute or later. But then we'll have the opportunity, if you want to, we have a kneeler here. If you want to come up and venerate the relic, you have an opportunity to do that. We'll stay here until 8 o'clock or so. If you want to venerate the relic. And if you want to venerate, if you've never venerated a relic before, kind of two ways to do that. You can either grab it here and kiss it, just kiss the glass right in front, if you'd like to do that, and then wipe it with the purificator here. Or if you just want to kiss your finger and touch it, you can do that as well. Or if you just want to have a quiet moment of prayer with the relic, that's up to you. So, okay, let us start with a prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, Lord Jesus Christ, most Holy Spirit, we become aware of your presence right now in this place, this moment, in the history of your plan for the salvation of the world. We acknowledge your love for us. We acknowledge your grace. We acknowledge your plan for our lives. And we give you thanks and praise for the gift of Brother Francis Casey. We thank you for his faith. We thank you for his witness. We thank you for his ministry as a priest, as a Capuchin friar. We thank you for the years he spent in our city of Superior. We ask you, Heavenly Father, that you would send your Holy Spirit to be with all of us. We thank you ahead of time for the good work that you desire this talk to bring about. And we ask our Mother Mary to wrap us in her mantle, to intercede for us, to lead us with Solanus to Jesus as we pray. Hail Mary.
Full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
I forgot to ask you my question. So, this is the 5th talk I've given on Solanus Casey since October of 2017. And I love talking about Solanus because of my personal devotion, because of just the many ways that he's working in the church. But one of the amazing things I love, why I love giving talks on him, is to hear how he is working in the lives of the people that are in the audience. Because I've had amazing encounters. I've met several people that knew him. I've had people come up and give me handwritten letters that they received from him. I've had people tell me about profound miracles of healing. I've met relatives. I've met potentially another one just while I was eating. So I'm going to ask you just a question, and just so I can kind of have a visual of the crowd. So I want you to raise your hand if you have never really heard of Solanus Casey. You have no idea. You may not even be Catholic. You have really very minimal knowledge of Solanus Casey. Super minimal, almost nothing. Okay. So maybe you're here just because, like, you know me, and you're just here to support me, or you have nothing better to do on Tuesday nights.
Yeah.
Or there's free food. Yes. Okay. Next level up. Okay, maybe you have read a Catholic article about it. Maybe you were aware that he was beatified in Detroit a couple of years ago. Maybe you have said a prayer to him. Maybe even you were aware that he lived in Wisconsin. That group of people. You raise your hand. Okay, so that's a good. Okay. Third group. Okay, you have prayed to Solanus Casey. You have probably read a book, maybe a couple of books about him, and you are looking for like a very good nugget of information from my talk tonight. Like you're ready for those cool little nuggets that I'm going to share. Go ahead and raise your hand. Awesome. Cool. That's a good group. Okay. The fourth group, which is who I'm in this group, you want to be an apostle of devotion to Solanus Casey. Like you believe in your heart of hearts that this man and his life in the 21st century and beyond is going to have a great power and ability to bring souls to Jesus. Like you believe that because of your experience with him before. Anybody else in that group? Awesome. Great. Great. So one of my goals for tonight's talk is to encourage you to move up one level. Just to move up one level. So if you've never read a book about him, maybe a goal for the next year is you're going to read a book about him. If you've never prayed to him, maybe you're going to take up him in your litany of saints with the prayer rosary. If you have never told anybody about him, maybe you're going to take that step in evangelization and tell somebody about the talk you went to, or tell someone who is in need of healing to pray to Solanus. So that's one of my main goals for tonight. This is going to be an outline of the talk. So we're going to talk about his upbringing along the Mississippi. He lived in the southwestern part of Wisconsin and near the Twin Cities. The main two areas that are different in this talk and other talks I've given are points 2 and 3. His conversion to the servant and superior, some other superior connections. Then we're going to move on to his life as a Capuchin friar. Quick note, if you have never heard about his life as a Capuchin, which is the last 60 years of his life, roughly 55 to 60 years, I encourage you to read and watch the videos that are on the resource sheet. Those books and videos are a lot of the actual friars talking about him. They can do a lot better justice to his life as a friar than I can. My level of interest and expertise is very much in his time in Wisconsin. Just want to practice there. Okay, then a summary of his path to sainthood, right? So you saw the advertisement, a saint lived in Superior, so I'm sure you're curious about what that means. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And then some practical takeaways for our lives. Why do I really believe that this man is an important saint of our time? Just quick, after my talk, which I will try to finish by 7:30, if you can't tell, I'm super excited about this. I could talk until like 8:30 or 9. So I think my mom or somebody else is going to tell me to shut up. So we're going to try to be done at 7:30 or so. And then we're going to have a time of prayer and blessing. And I'll explain that as we get closer, okay? Okay, so why am I giving this talk? As some of you might know, I was born and raised here. My parents, Tom and Lynn, are here. And went to the cathedral my whole life, my upbringing. And I remember the first memory I had of Solanus Casey was the cathedral parish prayer. I don't know if that was connected with the capital campaign or it was connected with the rededication capital campaign. So this was, high school, college age. I started to remember, who is this event through the intercession of Venerable Solanus Casey? Who is that guy? And I just remember thinking, like, who is that? Who is that? Who is that? But never took it further until my first hour of seminary at St. Francis de Sales Seminary. So this was August of 2017. And I had just driven from Green Bay down to Milwaukee. This is on a Thursday afternoon. And I moved in my stuff into the seminary and send up one load of stuff with some seminarians, send up load 2 with some seminarians, and then I take the ride up the third elevator trip. I tried to pack like it, but it didn't happen. So, anyway, so I get to the 5th floor, and I hop off the elevator. I'm with a priest in Milwaukee, and I walk out of the elevator, and I take 2 steps to my left, and then there's this image on the wall. You can see this image. It's a kind of a pastel painting of Solanus Casey, and then there's a small relic in front of the image. And I don't remember what motivated me, but I stopped, and I flagged the priest, because he was like 10 steps ahead of me. And I flagged him out, and I said, "Father, is that Solanus Casey?" And he said, "Oh, yeah." And just like very matter of fact, he said, "Yeah, he lived on the 5th floor here like 100 years ago. Oh, yeah, we're going to the beatification in November." I was like, what? That's awesome. And so the Lord, in that first hour, probably I was really vulnerable to a lot of like the newness of seminary. And the Lord used that vulnerability and that excitement and like drew me into this desire for friendship. I went to a seminary where I didn't really know anybody. I had 2 fellow seminarians from Superior, and I needed friends. And Solanus Casey, in my very first hour, before I even got to my bedroom, met me at the seminary. So between August and November, I read every single thing I could about Solanus Casey. Well, I probably should have been reading my theology books for class. And so I read several biographies and really prepared my heart and mind to go to this beatification experience in November. So, who is Solanus Casey? Solanus Casey was born Bernard Francis Casey. He was born November 25th, 1870. I bring up his birthday not just because when you ever read about somebody's like, oh, they were born, they died. This is something I never read, but I looked it up because I was curious. So there's this great phrase of Solanus Casey. Does anybody know what this phrase is? It's really common. I said it in the opening prayer. I thanked God when, Jeanette?
Thank God ahead of time.
Thank God ahead of time. Okay, thank God ahead of time. And so I remember when I saw his birthday, I was like, November 25th. I wonder how close that is to Thanksgiving. And it's the day before Thanksgiving, 1870. That's kind of cool. He was born ahead of time, born ahead of Thanksgiving. He was the 6th of 16 children. He was the 3rd boy born to Bernard and Ellen Casey. Both of them were Irish immigrants that had come over. There's beautiful, beautiful stories about his family. I'll talk a little bit about his family life later. He lost 2 siblings in 1878, so when he was about 8 years old. He lost 2 siblings in the same week due to a kind of a diphtheria-type illness. It was called quinsy. That's kind of the name for it. But he was impacted because so he lost 2 of his sisters. But then he was impacted in that it changed his voice. So if you ever hear audio recordings of him, he has a pretty high-pitched voice. So he was known for that. So he's born in Prescott, Wisconsin. He's baptized at St. Joseph's Parish in Prescott, Wisconsin. Then his family moves to another place in Trumbell area. Again, this is all southwestern Wisconsin. And then when he's about 12 years old, they move to their big house in Hudson. And the main reason they moved there is proximity to the Catholic Church. They wanted to be as close as possible to the Catholic Church, and I think at this time they were about 6-7 miles away. So they would wake up at 5 a.m. to get to the 8:30 because they would take by wagon. And so they were still making major sacrifices to the Mass. And the family they would split it in half because they were about 16, well they were 14 to 16, 14 and 2. So they would split, so half the family would go to Mass, and the other half would be at home and would say the Mass prayers and pray together. So a great, beautiful witness to family life, if you're interested in reading more about that. His younger life, or his teenage years, really kind of, he started growing independence when he got a job at the Stillwater prison, the state prison in Stillwater. And he was very known, or he became known because he was a really likable prison guard. And in particular, he got to know 2 prisoners, Jesse James and Cole Younger, and they were part of the Jesse James gang. And so here are these like bad, people know, these like bad criminals. And he befriended them so much, and he loved them with God's love so much, as only 16 years old at that time, that they gave him one of their trunks, that they had all their stuff in, that they were carrying their stuff in. Fast forward, when Solanus dies and they go into his room to grab his stuff, all of his stuff is kept in that same trunk. So this great witness of ministering to people in prison was also a part of his early life. He had some other jobs. He worked as a lumberjack, breaking up logs on the Mississippi River, slogger, orderly. He had some kind of odd jobs. He also almost got married to a girl named Rebecca Tobin. Thanks be to Mama Tobin, because when Solanus proposed, Rebecca went to her parents and said, "Is this okay?" And her mother said no, and I'm sending you to a boarding school 40 minutes away in St. Paul. So Solanus was heartbroken by this, but ultimately it ended up paying off, and yeah. So, but he almost got married, which is he was about 19 years old at that time. The main connection to Superior, kind of the transition point is as a streetcar operator. So in 1888, he left Stillwater to work in Appleton for a year because the streetcar was a new thing. Streetcar was a big form of transportation. It was really only in major cities, but there were a couple small cities like Appleton and Superior that bought in. And so he got a job in Appleton, lived and worked there for a year, and then in 1890, he got a similar job up in Superior. Any questions, by the way, before moving forward? Any questions? Okay. Yeah, good question?
How long was he in Superior?
Yeah, so I'm going to get to that. Pretty much 3.5-ish years. Yeah. We don't have specific dates on record, so we have like months. So like April, we believe April 1890 is when he showed up. So I'm going to talk about the Superior years, and I'm going to talk about a couple of key things. This is the main photo, the main family photo. This photo is from Superior, so I'm going to just point this out. So here are his parents, Bernard and Ellen, and this is Solanus here. So that's Solanus, and you can see his siblings around as well. What's that?
Not my fault.
So Solanus moved up to Superior, and he was the first of his siblings to move up there. So he got his job in the streetcar. And he was, what's important to know is, first of all, he was a faithful guy at this point. We knew he was faithful as a teenager. He prayed the rosary daily. He went to Mass every week that he could. Yeah, so he was a faithful guy. So it's not like when I'm going to mention his conversion in Superior, it's not like he became a Catholic. He was a good practicing faithful Catholic. 1887, 88, 89, the area around Hudson went through a real bad crop drought. So as Solanus is experiencing, affluence, I guess you could say, or a good job, good career, his parents are really going through a hard time. So I want to read a little bit, because one of the fascinating things about Superior, or doing this talk, is I didn't know how important this time was in the city of Superior. So this is from a history book in 1895. 4 railways connected by belt lines and terminal systems converge in Superior. The population of the village, this is Superior, in 1887 is 3,353. Of the city in 1890, 11,983. In 1891, 21,215. And then in 1895, 35,000. So Solanus wasn't just taking a job in a city with this new thing called a streetcar. He was entering into the most, historically still is, the biggest time of growth in the city of Superior. People thought Superior was literally the second Chicago. They used that phrase, second Chicago. It was the second largest city in the state behind Milwaukee. And so he's not just answering this call to one job, he's going into a place of excitement, booming. I learned actually a lot of the buildings, like the Board of Trade buildings, some of the buildings on Tower Avenue were built in 1891 and 1892. So it was a time of great promise in the city. He had the first inklings of a priestly call when he was about 17, because his older brother Maurice went to seminary, also at St. Francis de Sales Seminary. He would later get kicked out, but I'll explain that. But there's a lot of humiliation in Solanus Casey's life story, just He had an encounter with the sinful world, which I'll highlight here on the next slide, and ultimately it led to him desiring to enter seminary. So in doing some research, I've had a unique experience. In 2017 and 18, I was reading everything I could about Solanus, and I was diving into the text, started to read about it. Then in 2018 and 2019, my paternal grandparents died, Jim and Marge Tracy, some of you know, and I got into Ancestry.com. And little did I know that it would be a great place of healing for me when my grandparents passed, but it would also give me some cool facts about Solanus Casey. So I started a Solanus Casey family tree. And you'll see here Bernard F. Casey, conductor on the Douglas County Street Railroad Company, and he boards at 1605 Landboard Avenue. So this is, you can see here, the Casey family. I just want to point out, I have a stack cousin here. This was a fun fact I learned like a month ago. That brother Maurice was a helper, aka plumber, at Stack Brothers. So the Casey family actually is connected to my family in a cool way, which I didn't know until like 3 weeks ago.
Very cool.
Super awesome. That's the same Maurice got kicked out of seminary, by the way, so good on Maurice. So you can see, yeah, so this is from 1892. This is some of the jobs that they had. They moved their dairy farming operation from Hudson up to Superior when they moved, so his parents and siblings remained in the dairy farming piece.
Yeah, I noticed that there's a lot of Casey's living at 1605 Lamborn.
Yes.
So is it a house?
I'll get to that. Good question. Oops, on the computer. And here's proof that Bernard Casey worked as a conductor. These are 1890-91 railroad records. So this is the first draft of a map that I've made. I'm hoping to get about 10 locations, but I feel pretty good about 5 locations in the life of the Casey family in Superior. So the Cathedral of Christ the King is the first one. So you see there the yellow cross right to the west of Jimmy John's. The cathedral wasn't built until 1927. I just want to get proximity because we're here at the cathedral. So Solanus would have not known the cathedral at this time living there. Sacred Heart Parish, where Solanus and his family went to Mass, and a significant parish for his life, was on the same block as the Chancery. So you know those low-income housing apartments, right, to the west? That's where Sacred Heart Parish was. And it was actually the cathedral before the cathedral was the cathedral. So one could say that Solanus Casey was a parishioner at what then became the cathedral. So, if you want to make that joke, I'll give you permission. Okay, so then we have the Casey home in blue. So that's where the Chevrolet lot is, so right by near Hardee's. So that's where I'm pretty confident, and a lot of other sources say that they had a 10-story house, or sorry, a 10-bedroom house there. So once his family moved up in 1891, they moved from there. But you see the 1605 Lamborn Avenue is the Green House. That's just south of just down the street here. What's this on? People's Drug? Just south, down that way a little bit. That was the boys' home. So Solanus first convinced 3 of his brothers to move up with him. So that's where they would have lived. And then where the farm was located, this is really funny. I've been trying to figure this out. So we think of like a farm in Superior, and we think like, oh yeah, that's South Range or like St. Williams, Patterson area. No, it was like near Taco John's in Westman. I mean, that was farming country in the 1890s. It was kind of wild. So I can't pinpoint exactly which street it intersected with, but the farm would have been near 24th Street. They had a significant acreage in that area. So you can tell, especially with the proximity of the cathedral and their homes and the Sacred Heart Parish, that when they moved to Superior, it was their intent to be close to the Catholic Church. It was their intent to be in walking distance, not only of the parish, but the school that was also at Sacred Heart. So this is a work in progress, but if anyone wants to help me with this. Okay, so there are 2 huge moments in Solanus Casey's life when he lives in Superior. He moves into Superior in April of 1890, and then about 16, 17 months later, in the fall of 1891, he has this incident on the tracks. And there's a bunch of accounts of how this takes place. We were just my mom and I were at a play in St. Paul on Sunday, and they talked about the pools of blood just pouring out from this woman, and she's dying, and she's writhing on the tracks. I've read other accounts that are much more tame, that it was just a guy kind of roughing up a woman. The similar things that connect in this story, which we have some details from a journal account that Solanus Casey wrote in the early 1900s, so it's like 12 years after, is that it included a knife. It was near the tracks where Solanus was working, so this was late at night. It involved a woman, and it involved some type of man. A couple accounts say a sailor. So my journalistic juices, my journalistic excitement here has just been very much poured into this. And unfortunately, I wanted to have an answer for you of certainty, but I don't. So the word is still out on what exactly happened. Has anybody read like newspapers from the 1890s or 1900s? No. Anybody? They are amazingly good at covering local news. Like, they do a really amazing job. Like, they cover when people go from town to town. Like, someone went on vacation last Thursday. Like, they cover local news. So I'm really surprised that this story wasn't covered. Like, stabbing, whatever. I have a theory that I've sent to the captions, actually. I did find an article that fits some of the description. This is the story of Hattie Beckwell, which this is an occurrence that happens in the same time frame. So I'll just read you the story, and you can see there's kind of some similarities. No arrest has yet been made in a criminal assault which occurred early Wednesday evening at the residence of Mrs. A.T. Newman, 716 Cumming Avenue. A feeling of intense excitement prevails in the neighborhood, and every means are being furthered so that the brute may be brought to justice. At the residence, a Swedish girl named Miss Hattie Beckwell, nearly 18 years old, is employed as a domestic. She's also always been considered to possess a very childish disposition and was to attend school next Monday. About 7 o'clock, Mrs. Newman said a man arrived at the house, was served supper, claiming that his boarding house was a distance away. Mrs. Newman left for the opera house, and after she left, the man asked Hattie whether she would not like to go also. Unintentionally, she said yes. The girl and her friend started to go down when the stranger came up to Hattie and, taking her by the arm, started towards the tracks. That's not tracks connection. He then pulled out a flask containing whiskey and forced her to drink nearly the whole contents of the bottle. And I'll just skip a little bit here. So they returned to the house, and then he's like giving her a hard time, essentially. The stranger pleaded that nothing was wrong. As he went out the door, he asked Newman to come outside. But all this is taking place near the tracks, and Cumming Avenue was one of the tracks, one of the streets that kind of was adjacent to the tracks at the time. So that's my theory. I don't have anything other than a couple of articles to prove that, but the word is still out on what really happened. And you can say a prayer. I think it'd be really cool to know, because here's literally a woman and a man whose life experience changed the life of Solanus Casey forever. Father Benedict Rochelle, who founded the CFR Friars out of New York, he's quoted in that video that I was showing as saying that this was Barney's seminal moment of conversion. This was the moment where he saw something. He saw sin. He saw the reality of sin. He saw the brokenness in the world. And he began to ask himself, what am I doing driving a streetcar? I need to be doing something to combat this evil in the world. So soon after that, Solanus goes down to talk with Father Edmund Sturm, who was the pastor of Sacred Heart Parish. And in just a few short months, he's able to enter seminary. Now, he gets sent to the Salesianum, which is the Latin for what my seminary is called. And he gets sent there. And if you know anything about his story, the seminary is a German seminary. So German immigrants coming over wanted to start a seminary in the 1830s. And by the early 1850s, they have a seminary started. But pretty much all of the faculty and all of the seminaries are German. They speak German, they teach German. And not only do they teach German, but in order to learn Latin, which is obviously a huge, important language at the time. As a seminarian, you had to learn Latin in German. Well, Barney is as Irish as any Casey. No, he doesn't know anything about German. So he's nervous going there, but he really believes that God wants to make him a priest. So he gets to St. Francis de Sales Seminary. By the way, he's 21 years old at the time, and he's starting high school freshman. So that's where he's educationally. Huge place of humility. 21-year-old high school freshman. He becomes very well liked. He's still struggling with this illness, so he gets teased a bit for his high-pitched voice. He makes a little extra money on the side by doing barber clippings, which is still something we do at the seminary to save some money. He's very well liked. He's kind of viewed as like a father figure to the younger seminarians. He loved playing baseball. Baseball was his sport. I don't know if there's a patron of baseball, but he'll be it when he's canonized. And he was a great mentor to younger men. So this is some of us seminarians. You'll notice Deacon Joe's right next to me there. This is the parish where Solanus Casey returned to. I'll get to that in a minute. And then here's just a look at his hands. He was a really hard-working guy, and he was also known when he played baseball that he would sometimes catch without a glove, and he would catch without a mask. He was just kind of a hard-nosed type of guy, but clearly his hands paid the price for that. So just quickly to summarize his time in seminary, he spent just about 5 years in seminary, so he finished high school seminary, and then he began what would have been college seminary at St. Francis de Sales. But as the years progressed, he remained a seminarian in good standing. His conduct was great, his energy was great, he was clearly very devoted in prayer, but his grades began to struggle a little bit. And again, we're talking like in the 80s. I mean, it was very much more strict, than I don't know, high school nowadays. Like you can just pass with whatever. Seminary, you get an 80, you're in trouble. So his academic struggles were continuing, and ultimately they didn't feel confident that he could perform the necessary intellectual tasks of a diocesan priest. However, they did have the opinion that he might have a religious vocation, because they didn't deem that the same intellectual rigor would have been required to be a religious brother or a priest. So Monsignor Reiner, who was the head of the seminary for 35 years, so he's a legend there, he granted approval for Solanus to leave the seminary and to pursue a religious vocation. So if you ever hear that Solanus Casey was kicked out of the seminary, it's not true. They thought he had a religious vocation. So, but he's still pretty bummed about it. So the summer of 1895 into the fall of 1896, Solanus is struggling. He's doing some menial kind of odd jobs. He's working on the farm with his parents, but he still feels very drawn to priesthood and religious life. He had known another priest, a Franciscan, Father Eustace Volmer, who served as superior, and so he began talking to him a little bit about the Franciscans. So the Franciscans were on his mind when, in late November, early December, he began a novena to Mary that would end on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception. So he's praying this. He also invited his mom and his sister. So these three are praying, and they're asking Mary to be with Solanus to help him learn his vocation. So on December 1896, he goes to Sacred Heart Parish. He goes to the Mass for the Holy Day of Obligation. And after Holy Communion, he is enwrapped in prayer, like many of us are after receiving Holy Communion. And he hears Mary's voice say, "Go to Detroit." So there are kind of differing levels of encounters with the Blessed Mother. There's an apparition, see Fatima Lawrence Guadalupe. There's like vision, like there's like experiences where Mary will maybe lead you towards something. And then there's another one which is called a locution. So it's a speaking, it's an experience of a voice that, encountering the Blessed Mother. And so Solanus believed his whole life that he received a locution. He didn't see Mary appear to him, but received a locution. And it was very clear, 3 words, "Go to Detroit." So Solanus really took her message to heart, because 17 days later, he was in Detroit, getting ready to be invested as a Capuchin. Who likes midnight mass here at the cathedral? So Solana Stacy shows up on Christmas Eve of 1896, and he had just been, he just left seminary, he had just received this message from Mary, and he had just spent 4 days on trains and sleeping, in just poor conditions, and so he's exhausted. And so he lays down at about 10:30 at night on Christmas Eve, and he is awoken, his door was open, he is awoken by the Latin of O Come All Ye Faithful. Venite adoremus, venite adoremus. We know the hymn. And he's awoken by that, and all of his anxiety, all of his tiredness, all of his fears lifted, and he joins the friars for midnight mass and for late night prayers. And this starts his life as a Capuchin friar with the Franciscans in Detroit. Any questions? So that is how Solanus moves from Southwest Wisconsin up to Superior to Detroit. So he's 28 years old at the time. Any questions? Yeah?
His family, the Caseys, did they stay? Did they move? When did they depart out of the area?
That's a really good question, Father. So I have census data that shows that his parents were at least there until 1905, and that would make sense, good segue, because his first Mass was held in Appleton. The only connection he had to Appleton is he had lived there for a year, and there's a Capuchin parish there. So when he was ordained a priest in 1904, he was coming from Milwaukee, and some of his family was still up in Superior, and so they kind of met halfway. And this is the early 1900s. The trip from Superior to Milwaukee is a big trip. So they met in the middle, and that's where he celebrated his first Mass. So definitely 1905, his parents. By 1914, his parents had moved, all of his family had moved to Seattle. So most of his siblings and both of his parents are buried in Seattle. So, yeah. Okay, so he was formed by the dairy state, that's very clear. I did an interview with Real Presence Radio earlier in the week, or last week, and they said, why is Superior interested in him? Wasn't he from Michigan? I was like, no! He spent like the first 34 years of his life here in Wisconsin. So, quick timeline, birth, childhood in the La Crosse Diocese. This is by diocese. In the La Crosse Diocese, baptism, First Communion. Hudson, if you go to St. Patrick's Parish in Hudson, they have the record of his First Communion, which is really neat, a very cool, old record of his First Communion. And then he worked, obviously, in both Hudson and Superior. His priestly formation was done in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. He was diocesan seminarian where I go to seminary. Then, when he joined the Capuchins, he spent 18 months in Detroit, and then moved right back to Milwaukee, 4 miles from the seminary. That is now a parish. It's no longer a house of formation, but that's